Okay, guys, it's time to get started on that Husqvarna mower again. Get some lights on in the shop. Maybe. All right, let me get you around in the stand. We'll get busy again. Well, I went and had some lunch, and it occurred to me rather than try to start this thing up, I ought to change that oil because it's full of gas. And if I'm going to run it for any length of time, I don't want that in there. It's okay to test it with for just a second, but not for any length of time. So, this has one of those things I mentioned in a previous video. It's a little quick oil change gizmo. And, oh man, that cap's really on there too. These are, what's the word I'm looking for? They're kind of hit and miss. They sometimes work and sometimes don't work that well. They have a tendency to leak. There. I've got a little piece of hose I put on them just to be able to aim my oil. There it goes. So we got the oil gushing out of it. And leaking like a sieve. Big surprise that is. Oh boy. We're going to need something to catch that with. Those things always, I mean, when they're brand new, they're great. But they're never brand new. They're always a mess. That thing's still drizzling. Alright. Can I get this in there in time? Probably not, but okay. Whoa, camera, where are you going? Ah, what a mess. Oh, yeah. Oh, making it much worse. Oh, my God. That rag's so bad, it's just going out the door. Goodbye. Get another rag. Oh. Okay. Reach clean to the end of China to get a rag. So, oil is going where it's supposed to go in the pan, but it's also pouring out back there because these things are useless. It's probably the O-ring. I could probably change the O-ring and fix it. I may have another one here with a good O-ring in it. But as it stands, we're going to have an oil cleanup no matter what. It's not the curse of the camera that caused that. Basically, what caused that is those things aren't very good. Now, this thing has drained down to a trickle. I've jacked it up on the far side to make it lean towards the sump hole here. I want as much as I can get out of it. My lack of trust in this thing holding the oil in. When I pulled this little cap off, oil started dribbling out immediately and it wasn't unscrewed. And you basically turn it counterclockwise about half a turn and tug on, and there's a stop. It'll hit a stop and that opens it up for the oil to come out. But the problem is if that O-ring is compromised in any way, oil just starts slipping around it. All right. That's got that part. I'm going to move this out of here before a catastrophe occurs. That oil looks not too bad, but the smell. It is volatile oil right there. I bet that engine block's clean on the inside. All right, we're going to see if we can get this. Oh, yeah, the whole thing came off. Sort of saw that coming. Get that under there. Get my hose back off. Yeah, that thing's no bueno. I'm sure it's the O-ring that's causing most of the problem. My hose. Well, it's going to be a cleanup on aisle 5 tonight. Like to let that back end down just a little bit. See if that makes any more come out. Probably not. All right. So, yeah, the dripping is getting down to the minimum. I'll take this out of here. This disgusting thing. Ugh. Yeah, it almost looks malformed, like it's not even round. I don't know. Is that spring loaded, I guess? Yeah, it must be. Of course, there's a bunch of schmoo on the end here. It couldn't have sealed anyway. And now it's picking up speed. It's been running for a while. It about quit. But as you can see, it's slowing down now, but it's still quite a bit of oil in there. Probably an ounce or two that's still got to get out. Which I guess doesn't sound like it's quite a bit as it is. You don't want your oil to be compromised with old oil unless it's, actual oil. This is gasoline, and any gasoline you got in there, it's just not a good lubricant. The two-stroke mix that this thing's got in the tank, not a good lubricant. All right, I'm cleaning up this, just wiping off basically this quick change thing. I may have to go and get an O-ring for it at some point, but for right now, it's just so filthy. The old schmoo and stuff, it'd be hard to tell if it was leaking or if it was just dirty from not being clean. So I clean this crud off of it as much as I can within reason. I ain't gonna give it a detail shop job. All right, that's a little better. Let me see this O-ring. That O-ring actually feels pretty good. Huh. And this seal inside of here, there's a little spring-loaded doodad right in the middle that I assume is what seals that off. It's got kind of a rubbery washer on the end of it. I'm going to clean that really good, make sure there's no little hard dirt chunks or anything that could compromise its ability to seal. Just stick my pinky in there and get hung up on these little burrs. That thing actually looks to be in really good shape. I don't know why it was leaking. This could be that kind of stuff. Let me get under there, catch the majority of it, and while I'm here, I'll get some of this off the back side too, because that thing is just really dirty. Let's see if I can reach it. Yeah. All right, fold that up, stick it in there, give it a little floss. Now we're going to cram this on and see if it leaks. I mean, there's not much oil left, but if there's any to leak out, it looks like it would go. So just leave that off. Stay out of the way a little. Okay, we'll just watch it, see what it does. Yeah, the oil definitely needs changed. Now we got that filter. And those are always a mess. There's just no good, easy, clean way to change that. So what I'm going to do, spread this rag out where I know it's going to drip, which is going to be right here. Up to there. Tuck that back a ways. All right, that should catch 90% of it if it does leak. Now, is that going to come off easy? Yeah, probably not. Get hold of it by hand first. No, it's going. It went a little anyway. It's going slow, but it is turning. There. There she is. All right. Let me get on that oil filter. All right. This is gonna spill. They always do. I'm gonna try really hard not to spill, but here comes the oil. Now, the key thing here, when we're taking this oil filter off, don't drop it. Because oriented the way this one is, she is full right to the top. Look at it bubbling. Lots of oil and very squishy, wet, drizzly, full of gas oil at that. I bet that's a clean engine block on the inside. That thing needs to drain. Okay, I've got it drip dropped enough. I should be able to move this and put that right in there. And she can drain for a while and dry my hands off. This gasket mating surface up here has got to be cleaned. That's all around where the filter goes, right up here. I'm still not in frame very good. Turn that up some more. Right where that filter screwed on, you want that to be the cleanest thing. Because see, this kind of stuff that I'm getting out of there, if your gasket sticks out just a little more, doesn't quite stick out as much, whatever, if it ain't got a good clean mating surface there, she'll leak. And we don't want that. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Now, insofar as oil goes, oil filters, these things take one of the most common oil filters around. What I'm using in it today is a good old cheap SuperTech 3614, ST 3614 technically. These fit the Briggs & Strattons, and they fit these. Amazing as it seems, that Kohler filter that I just took off, that genuine Kohler brand filter, I'm willing to bet that's the filter it came with. I don't think somebody went out and bought a Kohler filter. It's pretty unlikely. I think it's more likely this is her first oil change. But that cheap Walmart oil filter works great, fits good, save you a lot of money. That's tight enough. I want to put it on there so tight, can't never get it off, but it does need to be pretty firm. You don't want it leaking. This thing hasn't dripped yet, so the O-ring's okay. It may have just had some dirt in it. I'll snap that on, make sure it's locked in there like it's supposed to be. It's only got 300 hours on it. How bad could it be? I never trust those. Once it's running and I see that it's not leaking, I'll be a lot happier with it. Okay, we're going to need oil in it. For that, we need to level the mower. It's got a flat on the other side. I don't know if I showed that earlier. And when I say a flat, I'm going to get this sorted out here. I mean a very flat. This thing's off the bead. That's going to have to come off and get fixed. I put air in it when I first got it to get it on the trailer and get it home, and it didn't stay very long. It's leaking pretty good, and it's a shame because it's a pretty good tire, so I'm probably going to put a tube in that one. It's smarter to put a tube in a good tire that's just got a leak than it is to replace a $40 tire. So 35, 40 bucks for that tire. It's outrageous and it's still got the little rubber ribs on it here. I mean, this thing's hardly got any use. Somebody has replaced that tire, I'd say. This one, this is a racing slick, and I don't think this mower is particularly fast. I don't feel like it needs a racing slick. So we're going to be changing that one. That's just too far gone to, I would never leave that tire. That's pretty bad. Okay, let me get set up to put some oil in this, and we'll be right back. All right, we've got the mower pretty much leveled, flat tire and all. Let's get a rag here. We're going to change this oil, or we're going to refill the oil. We've already drained the old one. I'm going to finish the job. And these corks, man alive. I'm going to clean this a bit. I'm going to clean this a bit. I'm going to get into my oil jug here and get a little bit of fresh oil and put around them O-rings, because that's ridiculous. Let me swing that jug over a little. There's some oil. Now, I know what you're thinking as I touch that oil with my bare hands, but according to the package, it only causes cancer in California. Okay, oh, I got a little dirt around the base of this too. There, now. Let me set that aside for a second and get this oil off my hands before I get California cancer. All right, need a funnel. I do believe that the funnel is hiding out in this cardboard box. Yeah. All right. Set that funnel in there. Now, as usual, we don't really have a measuring device. So we're just going to glug some in, check it, glug some in, check it. That can't possibly be enough. Now here's a trick that I'm sure is not really a trick. I take my funnel out and I drop it right in the oil jug. It's clean oil, so can't hurt anything. But it keeps me from making a bigger mess than normal. This goes that way. Good luck. And then pull it out, and it says, well, wonders never cease. That can't be right. Let me check that again. Oh, God. That's a good seal. I'll give it that. Come on. I'm pulling hard. Oh. Yeah, I was going to say, didn't think it could quite be full yet. A little bit more. It's close. It's actually pretty close. Okay. Take the funnel. Drop it right in there. This thing. Fight this back in. Pull it back out. She is right there. It's just the tiniest smidge below full. We're going to call that good. Don't mess with what works. That's close enough. Oh, this O-ring. All right. That out the way. Okay, the carburetor I bolted down tight. I need to get some fuel to that. I'm debating taking this fuel line off here at the filter and seeing if gas will come out, if there's any fuel in that tank. It's got to go either way. Whatever's in there has got to go. It can't possibly be good. I wish I could describe that smell. It smells like the dinosaur it came from. All right, let's set the oil aside. The oil and filter combo. It's better than gas and oil combo we had in it. And I need to take this oil I drained out of it outside because it smells like old gasoline. And that's some fumes I don't really want in here. I'm going to drain that. I've got old oil jugs here. I take it back to Walmart. It's absolutely free. When you've got old oil that you need to get rid of, best bet's to dump it back in the jugs it came in. Take it to Walmart. They'll take care of it. I don't know if they pay to get rid of it or if Walmart gets paid for the oil. Whatever the case, they will take it for free. And I'm okay with that. I'll take this one out too because it stinks just as bad. This is what the filter's in. These little coffee cans are great for that. All right. That's all out of my hair. Now, let's pull. Well, what should we do really? Let's think about this. May get a jug or get another coffee can. So here's what we're going to do. I got a coffee can here, one that I've previously used for oil. I'll put that fuel line right in there. Just kind of prop it up somewhere. Okay. We're going to use the steering wheel to hold that jug so it can't go nowhere. There we go. What I'm going to do is crank this thing. If there's fuel in it, it will come on through. I kind of want to test this pump. These are normally okay. It is pretty rare for these to go out unless they're ancient. And this mower doesn't really have that many miles. You know what I'm noticing? That choke is not what I'd call fully engaging. Wonder if that's normal. I don't think it is. I have to look at that. Okay. Let's give it a little crank. Let me find a position I can be in to see. We're going to pick that hose up. There's some fuel. There is definitely fuel in it. And the pump works. Oh my God, and it sinks. All right. That creates a new problem. I actually hoped the tank might be empty, but I could smell it, and I thought I heard it sloshing. Oh God, that is rotten. That is some bad fuel. So what we need to do is we need to take the needle nose pliers, which I have since misplaced. Not up here, right there. We're going to take the needle nose pliers, and what we're going to do, we're going to take this line off right here. Now it's up in the air, so it shouldn't vent no fuel until I get it down lower than the fuel level, lower than the tank's fuel level. Let's turn this a little. I'm twisting that line. I'm trying to. There, she moved. Yeah, that's got it. Okay, now I should be able. Should doesn't mean will be able. Is there any reason in the world not to cut that line? Let me just think that through for a while. I don't think the answer is no, so I'm going to cut. Yeah, I'm going to cut it. I've got spools, a new line, but I don't think I'll need them. There's quite a little bit. I've got some shears. Yeah. We'll just do it this way. Got a pretty fair quality set of diagonal wire cutters here that I think will allow me to just nip that right off. I'm going to get that jug where I'll at least catch a couple of drops of this gas. Okay. This is a pretty solid piece of line. Oh yeah, there it goes. And there it stopped. I'll do a little better job cutting this line later if I reuse it. It feels okay, so I probably will. Whoop. There's some fuel. Good God, how much is in it? It started pouring pretty quick. Let me get this dripped out so I only have one drip to worry about. Okay. I'm going to stop this for a second. Just like that. I hate to do it, but I gotta turn the air off and open this door, because what I don't want is gasoline fumes blowing me sky high. And I don't know that that air conditioner wouldn't do exactly that. All right. That door open. Man, that gas is definitely rotten. The smell is unbelievable. I'm going to go get an actual gas can. I'll be right back. Let me go find a gas can to put that in. All right, I got me a gas can found. I'm going to pull this pair of pliers out of here, put that in there. Hopefully. This clamp is right in my way, and I don't know that I can move it. There we go. Just make sure it's draining. So I think it is. There's just not a good way, because this thing's got some kind of vent thing in it that's blocking the hole. And I don't think there's enough line here to get down farther. Let's see. That's where it needs to be. Oh yeah. That's working. Let's do that. I hear it running now. That is the worst gas. What's getting hot in this shop quick, I'll tell you. I don't know how much of this god-awful gas is in there, but it is going to be my good luck that it's going to be full. And it ain't full, because I looked. I don't know how much is in there, and I don't know that you can see. While I'm waiting, I got some more bad gas here. I got to take the recycling center. What I'm going to do is that I drained in that coffee can. Needs to go in here, basically. Door's swinging in a breeze. There wasn't even a breeze a minute ago. But now it's decided there's a breeze. Okay, I'll dump this in there. It's pretty yellow. that in the gas can. There we go. I'm not hearing you. Speak up. That might be all of it. Now, I hate to say how you check. I'm sure there's ways. The way I do it is probably not the OSHA approved way. All right. And the way I do that, as you'll see, there is a large gas cap. And now, I take my face and plant it on that hole, and I blow, if I can get my hat out of the way. That bubbly sound is the sound we were hoping for. I do believe that's over. Now, we want bubbly sound number 2. The way we achieve that, this has a one-way valve in it. So if I blow here, tastes like butt crack. Now the old gas is out of the pump. Yummy. I'm sure you can't see that. Chunky style. All right. Well, I'm glad I blew through that. I think I'm changing those lines. This line and this line, because before the filter, I don't care. The filter will stop it. But this was run without a filter, or they reused an old piece of line. I don't know. But whatever happened, it kind of made a mess. There's some dirt in the line. Let's get this out here. Well, there hardly wasn't any in there. Okay. Well, I'm going to put that and consolidate it all into one jug. Oh my, that's stuck. Okay. Funnel. Ugly gas. Let's see if you can see that gas. That is some pretty amber gas. You can really see it in the funnel, which I'm sorry I can't really show that and pour it at the same time in the position that I'm in just now. That should have run some of that in a teacup. It's nice. It's not the best. We'll seal this back up in our approved container, and that'll have to go to the recycling center. When I was a kid, the recycling center was whatever brush pile we were fixing to burn that week. Sadly, I don't have any brush piles, so I'm certainly not storing this junk around here. So, take it to the place that'll accept it. Okay, I'm going to get some fuel line rounded up. We're changing out those lines that are terrible. We're going to run this off the tank. I'm not going to hook a piece of fuel line up to it and try to make it run that way. We're just going to run her the way nature intended once I get rid of them god-awful lines. We'll be right back here in just a bit. All right, let's see about this gas line. I've pre-cut myself a couple of pieces here. One to replace this section over here, and one to replace this section, and it's easy enough. You just line up your gas line and cut it off at the appropriate exact same length, or very close. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not the space shuttle, it's a lawnmower. Now, get these needle nose pliers. That's going to be a struggle, but at least it's turning. This clamp is really on there. There, it's moving. Okay, now she's going to come off. If I can get a hold of it. Well, I say that. There it goes. Well, there it went a little. These clamps are sometimes going to get that hose dirty if I ain't careful. There. The whole thing's coming. We just take it all. All right, there she is. Let's get this clamp off. It's one. And this one. That's on there pretty good. Now this sleeve. I don't know that that sleeve is really necessary, but the factory wouldn't spend 1 penny. They didn't think they had to. So I'm going to beat some of the dust out of it. Slide the new holes into it. It's like a Chinese finger puzzle. You got to watch you don't get trapped in it. All right. Clamp. And squeeze. That goes on here. Let's turn that clamp where we might actually be able to deal with it. That's on. Get a hold of it. There ain't a good direction. You know, regular pliers would have been better than these needle noses. Right there. Second clamp is filthy. Get a rag here. Try to clean this up a little. All kinds of junk in it. It's not imperative that you clean this clamp, but I want it to at least look like somebody's worked on it. And dirty parts don't really say that. All right. Make sure there's nothing in there. Always try to put your finger over the end of one of these clamps when you squeeze it with the pliers, unless it's on the hose, because you're going to pinch it and slip off, and it is going to go flying straight into orbit. All right, this goes here. There, get on there. There, good and tight. Okay. Squeeze that. Now we're going to have a problem. Maybe if we turn the clamp down, yeah. Now we can get at it. There, it's on. Man, that's hot. Why do I keep leaving that key on? Okay. Now, the second hose that actually needs changed, I don't think this is a vacuum pulse line right here. Basically, when the engine's running, the piston's going in and out, it's increasing and decreasing the pressure inside this case. This taps into that, comes around the side here, up to this side right here of this fuel pump, and there's a diaphragm in there. As that pressure changes, high, low, it's pushing this diaphragm in, out. There's a one-way valve in there, so when it comes this way, it sucks up some gas. When it goes that way, it pushes it on through to the carb. And that's how the fuel pump works. It's extremely simple. And that's why these things hardly ever fail until that diaphragm gets crunchy. When that happens, failure is imminent. Now this, we're gonna slip that whole thing right off apparently. It's a lot more convenient than I expected. Rescue our clamps. They look good still. They're all very good and springy. These must be back when they made a little better grade of clamp. This thing is good only for one thing, and that is the trash. We put it over there, so remember to throw it away. We got our new piece of hose. What's that? Dirt and schmoo. Get off of there. Alright, pinch that clamp, put the fingers over the end of it, scoot it a little more than that or we're never getting it on. That clamp goes right, or the hose goes right here. Of course, I've got the clamp on upside down. There we go. There's kind of a natural curve to the hose because it's wound up on a reel. And a lot of times, you can use that curve to your advantage. Well, I just don't like that at all. But okay. Alright, that's got that. Let's get this clamp on. Maybe. Come on, you can do it. There. Good and tight. Alright. Does that fuel line say anything on it? Quarter inch. That's what I figured. Okay. Now, I've got some fuel filters, I hope. Let me come over here and look. Maybe this drawer. Finding everything else. Alright, I'm going to have to scare one up. So I guess we're going to have to put you on pause and I'll be right back. Alright, we got us a fuel filter found. I knew I had one somewhere. Probably could have got by without showing this. It's more the exact same, except for one thing. The fuel filter itself, when you put these on with a paper element, the paper element ones, not the red ones, but the paper element ones, go with engines with a fuel pump. You want it so that the fuel coming in, you can see, and the fuel going out that's blocked by this filter, you can't see. The reason is, then you get a good idea how dirty it is. Because with it the way I have it oriented right now, fuel comes in from the tank through this little pin, and you'll see every scrap of dirt this picks up. It's also got a little magnet. Now, why would you have metal in your gas? I don't know, but these come with a little magnet for some reason. So we're going to put that on here. Get our little clamp. Now, one thing I've noticed is these filters seem to be a little undersized. And if this doesn't feel tight, oh, that's tight. If it doesn't feel tight, I put a screw clamp on them. I rarely use a screw clamp, but this is one of the cases where I would if I felt like it was warranted. Now we're going to put this one on this end. Sneak it right on there like that. Get our clamp. Good luck. That's going to be awkward. Okay. Push this on up the rest of the way. Okay. That's good and tight. We are ready. I need to put some gas in it, throw the lid on, open the doors because the fumes will probably murder us. And see if it runs. I adjusted that choke. Now, let me get you around where you can see. You see the choke valve right here. Before, when I closed the choke, I'd push it up and it went about that far and stopped. Well, there's a little left to go there, and it's best to have that choke all the way closed when you're all the way choked. Now, it does that. Why? Well, right up here, bring you around where you can see, right up in this hole, this is part of the choke. Let me turn that off. See it move? That's part of the choke, and right on top here's a screw. And what you do is you can turn that in to make it more choked, turn it out to make it less choked. This turns the choke on and off right here. And as you adjust that screw, it will make this little butterfly down here more and less open. So you can adjust that to make it where you want it to just close. And right now there's even just a little bit left. If I push it, it goes just a little tiny bit more. But that's pretty close. All right, I'm going to put some gas in this thing and get you set up a little farther away from it. We're going to hit the button and see what happens. I will be right back. Okay, we got some gas in it. And I am going to get around it right past here. We're going to watch for that fuel to fill up first. It's filling up. Let's put the choke on. Getting closer. Well, it sounds like it's running. Well, I'm going to call that a success. Seems to be running all right. I'll have to let it burn that oil. It's smoking. But that's probably, you know, when that gas gets into the crankcase and fills the crankcase up, now you're way over full of oil. And the first thing it does is start pushing that oil past the rings and into the cylinder and then burning. It smokes like a freight train. It's bad. I hope I haven't blown a head gasket in it. Well, I wouldn't have been the one to do it, but that can, you know, when you hydrolock them like that, when the starter hits them, sometimes instead of it just bending a rod like you'd expect, it'll push past the gasket a little because that's hydraulic pressure. It's pretty strong. And the piston rod and the piston are not the weak parts of this engine. And so it's entirely possible that he could have blown a head gasket. But I think, because you know, based on experience, what's going on here is that smoke is from oil that blew past the rings and is camped out in that muffler, which is just exactly what you'd expect. I don't want to run it a long time without the cover on it. Let me get the cover back on it. We'll start it up and I'll start it up and let it run for a while. And I'll bring you back if the smoke clears up. And if it doesn't, I'll bring you back and tell you what's going to be next. Okay, we're going to start this thing back up now that I got the cover back on it where I know it'll cool. And see how she runs. Maybe if I give it some choke first. Well, that smoke seems to be gone. Whether it'll come back or not is anybody's guess. But for the time being, it's not too bad. Just going to give it a minute. Honestly, I gotta say, it sounds pretty good. Let me get back out of the noise a little bit. Yeah. So far, so good. Seems to be running just fine. Let me wind it up a little bit. Honestly, if anything, it sounds a little rich. But there's not really an adjustment for that short of changing the jet, and it's running too good to really screw with. Something I've learned, if it works, and you start fooling with it, sometimes it don't work no more. All right, well, that's got the engine. We got a lot left to do. We got a flat tire. Yeah, you've been there and done that before, but I'm going to put a tube in that. Got to get a new tire. There's no way around it. I don't think I've got a good used one. I'll look through my stuff. I might. We got to get the deck off. As always, you always pull the deck off. Check all the idler bearings, spindles, blades. Probably going to need blades or need the ones that's got sharpened. Hoping for a sharpening this time. Back tires are fine. And it needs cleaned up because it is disgusting. But overall, this looks like it's going to be a win. The engine's not falling apart. I may, and I may not. I was going to say I may pull those case bolts and put some Loctite on them and put them back in. But I come back to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think I'm going to let them alone. They're not leaking now. It doesn't seem like any of them were loose. I'll check them. I'll get a ratchet and put the tighten on them just a little bit to be sure they're all tight. And if they don't move, they're good. I'm just not going to fool with them if they're okay. But at least you know what to look for if you get a used one of these Kohlers. We'll be back shortly after I figure out what I'm going to do next. Probably going to pull the deck next, and then I'm going to pull that tire. All right, well, we'll be back again here after a bit. Hey guys, welcome to the shop. We're going to continue on this Husqvarna again. And today's big mission, I believe, is going to be the tire. And probably the deck. Get you set down here. We're going to pop that tire off of there. For that, I'm going to want this little pry bar. And we're going to want some needle nose pliers, maybe. Or a screwdriver. Funny how those would be interchangeable, huh? Let's see here. Well, we're going to go with a screwdriver. And for later, I'm going to want a pair of pliers. That looks like might be a good set. Okay, back in front of the camera again. Move some junk. All right. Pry this rubber piece off. This one is going to be a lot easier than the last one I did. Oh, spider. Die, spider, die. Okay. He's been evicted from this realm. You know, I might not need to pry this one. It's not as petrified as the other one. I might be able to take it right off. I mean, it's going to fight, but... Oh, yeah. Dry as a popcorn fart. There ain't a speck of grease in there. Wow. All right. Well, I see something we're doing. You have to put some grease in them. They'll wear right out. Oh, yeah. So we got a C-clip again. You can see this one a lot better. That's how, that's what holds it on. Just a little C-clip and a washer. Then this will slip right off. And it's just, I mean, where there should be grease, there's dust. There ain't nothing. I mean, nothing. Wow. Okay, then. Well, we're going to be fixing that. Okay. Yeah, that is not the very best thing. These honestly don't get that much wear, and this is pretty hard steel. The wheel is not pretty hard steel, and it will wear. And so you'll end up with a wheel just flopping all over the place. And just takes a couple of squirts. We're not talking about something that's difficult. Let me move the camera up here. Gonna pretend that's the good spot. Just about there, I guess, is about as good as I'm gonna get. We can hope. Yeah, that'll work. All right. Get my tire. Well, it doesn't really help that the grease fitting on this thing is like a little plastic bushing with a little grease knob. At least it's on the valve stem side, which goes out if you ever want to put air in the tire. But still, the hole's open. You could grease it. Plastic or not, well, I don't know. I don't know why they. I tell you what I do like about that though. When you put a tire in this tire machine here, you don't have a lot of room at the bottom. And as a consequence, this hole here where you put the tire in, if there's a big old valve stem, or not valve stem, grease zert sticking out from the side right here, it'll interfere with that. And I've actually broken one or two and had to replace them. This one just sets right down in there. I love it. Is it off the bead on the back side? It is not. Let's do that first. Oh, yeah. It went. I thought I was going to have another one of them get stuck in there things with the grease zert, but the plastic grease zert apparently isn't as big. Okay. I always get so greasy and nasty working on these. The reason this shaft, I've never greased that shaft. The reason that's so greasy is inside of those is supposed to have grease, the inside of the hub there. So as you slide it on, it kind of greases it for you. But in this case, there was no grease, so I didn't add any today. All right, let me bring that around here. Plug this in. This adjustment on this for different tire sizes hardly ever gets changed. You can move it around, but it seems like this is the size tire I always have to put a tube in or replace. Sometimes you got to replace them. That other tire on the front of this thing, it is it's beyond what I consider usable. It is bald as it can be. So we're going to be sourcing a tire for that. And I think in my couple of dead mowers out there, I believe I got a tire on one that I'm not planning on fixing. I'm planning on scrapping and saving the motor. We'll use that one. Oh, goodness. A part of me wishes this bolt was shorter. If it was, I'd need 2 tire machines, though, because the back tires, you'd want a little more bolt. Maybe some kind of quick release. I don't know. Harbor Freight, if you're listening, fix me up. Find a way to make that better. Okay. Now, I can't really put the force on this plastic, this little piece I showed you a minute ago. This is plastic and unfortunately turns. I don't think it's supposed to. It does. Does it turn all the way through? No, that's a separate piece on the other side. So there's another black piece back here. Oh, it does turn too. Well, that's what it's got for bearings, so Husqvarna, you're slipping. We're going to have to pry that tire off, and the first thing we want for that is our spray. It's just dishwashing liquid and water, not a whole lot of dishwashing liquid. Probably a tablespoonful, maybe 2. And the rest is water. And that's really all it takes to pop these tires off. Just a little lube. Do I want... Yes, I want to remove that valve stem first. Now, while I can get to it easy. I'm going to push that down like so. Get in behind it. Give it a little snip. Now that we're about off, we're going to get a hold of it so we don't lose that in the tire and have to look for it. Reach in there with our big old fat ham hands. Okay, that's got the back side off. The front side just fell off. There it is. Set that in a little tray for now. All right, we're going to have to clamp this baby down. Problem is that plastic, I can't really get medieval with it. So I may be bear hugging this tire while I try to crank it off the bead. I only have to get one side. We're just putting a tube in it. All right. That up here, give it a little crank. I'm going to call that good enough. I don't really want to lean on it like I'm losing my mind. Okay. I've moved the tire machine here inside the shop because often it is just too hot to be doing this outside. It also lets me put it a lot closer to me than having it bolted to that pallet did. That was really bad. That's what I had at the time. All right, well, this is where we took a size 8 into a size 5 jock strap. Get in there. Yeah. You know, this is just going to be in the way. Get that tube out of my way and spin this off. Because honestly, working around that thing is actually worse. Oh, come on. So close. All right. That'd be a little better. Now we're going to tuck this in here. All the way around. Yeah, that gave me a little more room. Get in there. Okay. I got that the right way. Once it's in, you want to kind of reach in there as best you can, straighten it around some. This one seems to be doing a good job of straightening itself. Pretty good. And you got to get it around this rim, which isn't too bad on this one. Some of them it is. This one's popping right on there like nothing. Okay, that's in. It seems to be pretty straight. Now we just got to get this valve stem through the hole. And then we need our special tool. Let me go get that over here. And when you're putting a tube in, the biggest struggle is keeping that valve stem where you want it. And what I use to do that is this little tool. I don't remember. I may have got this at Harbor Freight. I might have got it at Walmart. You can get them almost anywhere, I guess, if you go searching for it. But basically, it's got a valve cap on this side, but it's not really a valve cap. You don't just screw it on and leave it on your tire. It's got slices in it. That's a thread chaser in case your threads are messed up. Not that you're ever going to need those threads, really. Most all your air things push on, or some of them clamp on, but hardly any of them screw on anymore. It's also got a thread chaser here for the valve core. If you ever pull the valve core out and it was kind of crunchy, you can chase the threads with that. This is like an easy out broken valve core remover. It's threaded backwards, so as you unscrew, you thread it in, but you're threading it in backwards. And it'll bite into it and pull it out. And on this end here, there's the valve core remover, where if there's nothing wrong with your valve core, you just stick this in and unscrew it and it takes it right out. You don't often need to do that unless you're having trouble seating a bead or if you've got a leak in valve core you want to change. But it's good to have. Let the air out fast. Pulling the valve core, let the air out fast. That's more important on a larger tire, though. Okay, now that I've got that put on there, she's right there, and it's holding that valve stem from falling back down in the wheel, which is not a thing you want. I'm going to set this up here. Going to get the spray again. Be sure we're sprayed. When you're working with old rims like this, or old tires, you don't want them busting to pieces. And this tire isn't that old. It's pretty flexible. All right, we're going to use this half cut out piece. And what we're going to do, There's a big dent right here, and we want this bead down in that big dent so that there's room for the tire to walk on the rim here, the bead to get on the rim. That's kind of the secret for how they get a tire on a rim that's bigger around than the tire, is they give it room on the inside. Now I should be putting that clampy thing on here, I guess. It feels like I probably could do it without it, but I don't want to booger up my threads. Let me get this on here. I spend more time on this tire machine threading and unthreading this than I do working on the tire. That's why I say they need to refine this design just a little bit. There must be a better way. Okay, a little more. All right. Now, I'm going to try that again. Put this on here. And I want that stupid pegboard. You, sir, are in the wrong place. I looked for a place that was out of the way and I didn't find one. Get that down here for now. Well, there goes the camera. Oopsie. All right, that's better. All right, let's get her on. Oh yeah, just barely enough clearance, and I do mean barely. Force that tire down. Whoop. You stay on there. Back in there. Force that tire. There it goes. Going easy now. Almost done. Boop. And it's in there. Tube. Feels like it's pretty much straight. That'll do. We're going to get a little tiny pair of vice grips. What I'm going to do here is pull this valve stem up. And I'm not trying to crush the life out of this. I just barely want to get a hold of it so it don't fall in. I'm going to take this off. This, probably what I want. Here we go again. I definitely spend more time threading and unthreading this than the operation on the tire takes. It's kind of like machining. It takes longer to set up the tool than it does to work the part. All right. This out of there. Let's take this off of here. My valve stem ain't going nowhere because I got vice grips on it. So I can take this tool off. Now, I'm going to get my little air upper. Maybe. God, that's stuck. All right. Won't be needing the air ratchet. Oh, come on. All right. What do we got in here? A little over 60 pounds. That'd be plenty for this. Put a little air in this devil. Now, we don't want to put a lot of air. I'm going to go with about 12. There's 12. Take that off. Looks good. We're going to need a valve cap. Put that on here. Well, cross thread that on here. There it went. And slip that right back on the mower. Putting it back on is the exact opposite of taking it off. Very simple thing. All we do there, put the little washer back on, get the little C-clip, get the pliers, and what you're doing here is you're putting the pliers on the bottom of this shaft and on the top of this C-clip, and you just give it a gentle squeeze, hold it with your finger so it don't go skyrocketing off. And there you go. Grease cup. Kind of finagle that around. And come on. Give it a little push. Boom. We're on. And you can feel the washer in this little dimple that sticks up. You want to squeeze it around. Be sure it's not on lopperjawed somehow. And that's that. Tire fixed. I'll have to find a tire for the other side. So let me see what I can scrounge up. And I'll be back. Just a little bit ago, I talked about these things not being greased. And I've got my grease gun here. I'm going to grease this up. I can't even guess why it wouldn't be. I guess the previous owner may not have had a grease gun. Oh, getting on there. There it went. It's going to be a challenge. Well, grease coming out of the cap, we're going to call that a win. Now, if that one's not greased, you just about bet they didn't have a grease gun, and these axles aren't greased either. Let me get this camera sorted around here. All right, the axles are, okay, this isn't an axle. This is a, there's a word for that. Those things. You know, I used to know this. Kingpin. We'll call that a kingpin. That's close enough. That's what's called on my Ford. Anyway, these, there's a metal tube welded to the end of this. Or actually, probably cast. This looks cast iron. Yeah, that's cast into it. And the axle assembly here swivels inside of that tube. And that needs grease. I need to get where I can see, because when the grease starts coming out, that's time to stop. And it is coming out at the bottom. So we're going to call that pretty good. I'm going to do that to the other side, and then we'll be back. All right. The time has now come to drag this deck out of here. She's sitting on her own tires now. They both appear to be holding air. Hooray for that. So the first step, set the deck down on the ground, which will take most of the tension off. Those pins, I need a little more. There we go. Then we got to have some pliers. There. Two kinds of pliers. I get some needle noses and some regular pliers. All right. Well, let's see. Got a pin right here. And looky there, a washer. Just like it's supposed to have. And then this will come out. That little feller there. I don't know if the camera picks that up. Let me bring you around. All right. So right here, that's one piece we're taking a pin out of. That is an adjusting nut right there. You can use that to level the deck. Unless something has happened, it's been bent, damaged, something's happened, you usually don't have to fool with that. It doesn't wear enough to need adjusted. But occasionally, somebody will hit something with the front. We're about to take the front off here. Now, it's on the other side. There's a bar. Let me see if I can find a way to get a good look at that. There used to be a way to zoom this. Let's see. Hell, I'm too stupid to figure it out. Alright, never mind. We'll just get you closer and I'll point to it. Alright, there's a little piece in the front and there's a little bar. Okay, let me see if I can show you. Move that stool out the way. Okay, right here is a little bar that holds the deck, and there's a flat piece of metal right here. If you hit something with the front of that deck, it's going to bend this little bar back, and that effectively lowers the altitude of the deck. So if you get one you can't get high enough, probably that's bent. This adjustment in the front is how you correct that typically. You can use that adjustment to bring that back up where it should be. You could try to bend this piece of steel, but it's about a 1/4 inch thick, and it says no. Generally speaking, you put the power to it and it resists. And you'd almost have to stand the mower up on end where you could get to it well enough to put enough power on it that you'd actually bend it back. It can be done. You don't want to heat it. That's steel, that's treated steel. If you heat it up, it'll get soft, which will make it easier to bend back in place, but then you won't be able to keep it there. Every little thing will bend it back. So you kind of want to keep that temper in it. That little pin's tough to pick up. All right, so we got that pin off. We got one around in the back on the other side. So I'm going to move the camera clean out the way now. Get way back here. Set this down. All right, I'm going to go around the other side, pull that pin, some more of the same. Move some junk. Been putting shelves up in here. Got a whole box full of shelf brackets that are mostly in the way. All right. We got one pin here, just like the one on that side. And a washer. These are those good pins that stay on. I like that. Now, is there anything else? Huh. Yes, there is. This deck has a bit more holding it on there. There's also, I'll show you one on the other side. Also 2 pins up here. There's one. And there should be one, if I can get up, should be one on the other side. So there's that pin I showed you. I don't know if I can get you down here. Let me see if I can pop you out of the mount right quick. It takes a little time with the GoPro, I'm afraid. All right. And down here, I pulled this one. And now, if you follow that bar up, there's another pin. You got to pull that one too. All right. I'll get that out of there, and then we'll drag this deck out, see what we got. All right, let's get a hold of this deck, see what we got. Well, we got a hayfield on top. Let's see if I can get that belt out of there a little. Good. Quiet. I like that. The belt is ruined. That's just all there is for it. It's done. Get that out of the way. What could I possibly be hitting? That's not a good sign. That's all right. Uh-oh. Hand's a little crunchy. I'll be changing that one, I'm afraid. Maybe bearings if I have it. Probably going to be the whole shebang. Okay. Let me get this back on here where it goes. I'm going to have to take this deck out and clean it. It is bad. I really want to know what that's hitting. Let me change where I've got you, and we'll discover that together. All right, got the deck outside. I'm going to stand this up. What are we hitting? Oh. Well, that is not the way that's meant to be. I don't see what it was hitting, though. Unless it was hitting the floor. That blade is bent. Oh. Yeah, I hit something. This is meant to ride on the ground, and the blades turn in this direction, and it's meant to help grab the grass and send it out the chute. It is bent up. That's going to need probably the bolts pulled, this put in the vise and bent or hammered out on concrete, and then put back in there. This little piece that's missing doesn't affect anything. It's broke off here right by the belt. I can probably grind that off, that little spur that's sticking out there. Call that good. This, I'll just pull the bolt and it's good. That doesn't really need tons of reinforcement right there. It's not hitting anywhere. Wonder why it felt like it was. There's chunks of old grass. That'll all need cleaned. This one is fine. It looks like the blade's straight. I can sharpen that blade. But you can't straighten this blade with a sharpening. It's going to need one. I may have one. I'll look and see. But anyhow, one spindle, this one, that is a noise you don't ever want to hear. I don't know if you can hear that. Let me get the microphone down there close to it. I don't know if it's going to pick it up. That's what I like to call a bad sound. That bearing's dry as a popcorn fart. All right. Well, let me see if I can round up a blade, and I might even have what I need to rebuild that spindle down there. And I'll poke around and see what I can find. All right, I think first we're going to try and clean some of this. Comes right off so far, but man, that's when you've really let it go a little longer than you might ought to have. That's unbelievable. There is a whole yard up here. This will have to be power washed too, but you can't even really work on it under chunks like this. It's unbelievable. That's stuck up in there. Yeah. Even this grass in these holes, like right here, that don't affect anything. But if you don't get it out, it'll rust. This thing goes here. All this is a bearing support, but if that bearing support rusts and lets go, the whole thing comes apart. That's got the majority of it. Let's see if I can't find a little puff of air, fix that up. a little bit better. Still gonna have to power wash it, but I just can't work under those conditions. All right. You know, if they'd have just cleaned it as good as I just cleaned it right now, it would have been good enough. And that just took a few minutes. All right. I question this belt. That looks like a 1/2-inch belt. I would have sworn this would have took 5/8, but the hood will say. And it's shot. It needs another. I'll have to source one of those. I may have one, but if I don't, I can run over to the farm store and get one. It's one of those places where I don't often get a Chinese part. This one you could get away with an automotive belt because the electric clutch, it doesn't slip. It turns on, it turns off, and it's always connected. But the kind with the lever that you engage, they do slip a little. And if you use an automotive belt, they wear out pretty quick. They ain't made for that. They're meant to have the cloth wrapped ones. Well, I believe that's going to be it for now because I've got to find parts, a lot of parts. But I'll bring you back when we get some stuff found and sorted out and ready to put on.